everybody. Welcome to the Energy News Beat podcast. My name's Stu Turley, President and CEO of the Sandstone Group. We got some serious energy problems in the United States. There's a couple of other ways that we can save it. We can either lower the price of energy, or we can have a little bit of better management and actually reduce what we use. And better yet, how do you know if you're even using how do you reduce what you don't know? I've got a special guest here. I've got Ralph Rodriquez, and he is over at Legend Energy Advisors, and we've been chit-chatting a little bit of inside baseball about Ralph. Ralph and I have been beating each other up on LinkedIn, and that's how we met. I want to give a shout out to LinkedIn and Ralph for putting up with me on LinkedIn, because we've had fun poking at each other. And we've also been talking about his black belt in jiu-jitsu, and that's my Texas, Oklahoma accent coming out. And we have had an absolute blast talking about my black belt in Taekwondo and how badly I got beat up. Well, Ralph, thank you for stopping by the podcast.
Man, Stu, thanks so much for having me. I sincerely appreciate the opportunity and look forward to having this discussion. Hopefully you won't beat me up with your Taekwondo over the airways here.
Oh, I got so beat up, we never had any discipline problems in my house because my son and my daughter both just went ballistic on it. And my son, when he hit 16, just would beat the snot, and I would crack when I got out of bed the next morning, and my wife would lean over and she goes, "He beats you up again, didn't he?" And yeah, he did. So my son, if you're listening, oh, you knew how to hurt me.
It's kind of disgusting that the older you get, sometimes the stories of how you hurt or how you got hurt don't really they're not as exciting. It's kind of like, hey, I rolled out of bed this morning, you know what I mean, and somehow I ended up with a crick in my neck.
Oh yeah.
And
you and I were talking about being married, and I've been married 37 years, and I belovingly, she has got a 37 years, and one of those was a good year. But you also had a few things about being married. Men understand this, but we also don't understand turning the lights out, Ralph. And we're sitting here, and you tell us a little bit about what you do, because you got a weird company that is really involved in all types of energy. Tell us what you got going on over there.
Yeah, so interestingly enough, Legend Energy Advisors, founder and CEO Dan Crosby, used to work for, he used to manage national accounts actually for one of the largest brokerage houses in the country. And he had challenges. He'd talk to people, his clients, and they'd reach out to him and they'd say, "Man, my bill, it's like twice as much as it was the month before. What happened?" And he'd look at him and say, "Well, you used twice as much energy." And obviously they were like not satisfied with that answer, and neither was Dan. He really struggled with that, and later decided that that space was really challenging because those people are not really there to help them understand how they're using or metabolizing energy.
Right.
And so it was an interesting transition for him because he wanted to really kind of help them understand how they were using that energy, and the only way to do that is by having complete transparency in the wholesale energy markets. And understanding how they're using that energy.
Right. And so when you get your bill and you don't realize that $2 was your hot water heater, and then, or a $1.95, and then all of a sudden in Texas, was it 2 years ago, the $1,000 a kilowatt hour or whatever it was?
Yeah, that's insane. It's insane, right? I mean, whenever those challenges come, there's people that still got to keep cranking their businesses. And so Some people are taking advantage of that, and it's the ones that are actively participating in the energy markets, and they can really only do that by operating in real time, and so we've had some clients actually, which was interestingly enough that you mentioned that, we have we had a mining client in Texas that was the only operational mine during that time, and literally
Oops.
made millions of dollars just in a couple of days.
Yeah. How do you put that one by your wife? Hello, honey. Our bill went to, $20,000. Oops.
You don't. You don't. You don't.
both you and I would get our head shoveled to the back of the head so hard our eyeballs would fall out.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
But now, when we sit back and take a look, your software that you have to balance out and track the information. We were talking about data. And as a CEO, if you're trying to run a company and you got to look out for labor and energy are some of your biggest costs that you have to try to manage as a, type of a business owner. So what can you guys do as far as what are your thoughts on how to, you don't know what you're going to save if you don't know how to do it. I mean, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's like you don't know what, it's like that old question. You don't know what you don't know. So it's like, but then you have to convince somebody to take the step to try to understand what you don't know. And sometimes bridging that gap is really challenging, right? But the key is really in understanding that there's three components that when they work together really make the ability for decision makers to understand how they're using energy and how to improve efficiency. Because really, at the end of the day, whether you're trying to save the environment or whether your goal is to save money, efficiency is really the driver for both of those items, right?
Right.
So the key is in those three components is having an advisor that does market intelligence, that understands and has the highest level market intelligence, but can apply that with the type of analytics platform like our Legend Analytics platform, which aggregates and extrapolates the data seamlessly, and it's actually auditable data, but then also understanding the infrastructure component, because when you work all those three things together, you can optimize the efficiency, and it just really improves how you're operating as a business. And we're doing some really, really interesting things where we're helping people in some ways that are really, really significant.
Give us a few examples.
Yeah, so one of our clients in New York City is a 60-story building, and we started implementing our platform and some of our technology and the expertise within our organization, because those three silos actually have different people that had those.
Yes.
And so their ability to dynamically work together to kind of integrate those solutions to understand has really improved efficiency in ways that are like incredible. I mean, that building is some 30%, they spend some 30% less on their energy bills than they did previously. And one of the cool things is because we do real-time analytics is they're able to actually have a real-time, or their clients are able to have a real-time carbon footprint.
Wow.
Their product, which is something that's really different. I mean, we do that in hotels too, where a client, when they're on their way out, they can get their statement and it gives them the carbon footprint right there, which is something that's really different.
Oh man. That is extremely different. And when you sit back and kind of think, as a CEO, you're responsible to your investors and your stakeholders, and you're sitting here and you've got new things coming around the corner. If you don't have auditable information, you could be like in trouble. And that's one of the things that bothers me about the carbon tax regulatory issues coming around the corner is you almost have to look at your data as a defense shield, because if you don't have the data, it's kind of like the IRS showing up at your doorstep. You almost have to prove that you're innocent.
Yeah, so take it one step further, and I can tell you that we've had experience because we engage with really, a lot of energy intense businesses across almost every sector, including
Right.
oil and gas, by the way. I mean, some of our clients are some of the largest oil and gas companies in North America. And we can tell you specifically that there's a significant amount of over reporting and under reporting. And so that's really, by virtue of using like Excel spreadsheets to input your data, and it just requires manpower, and it's prone to error. And in the age of AI, it's like, man, you really got to advance, to the next level. And so, I feel fortunate that I'm a part of Legend Energy Advisors, because, our founder and CEO is really and truly a visionary. I mean, he's
Oh, how
so far
fun.
ahead of every, in his thought process and the solutions. And, it makes it easy for me, as a business development sales
Yep.
type person. When you have a product and services that are solving real world problems, man,
Yep.
there's no better feeling than that. It's an easy sale. The hardest part for me is just
Yep.
getting the meetings.
Yeah, I can understand that. It's all about thought leadership, and people want to buy from somebody that they know, and that you're not trying to sell them a bill of goods. But when you're trying to save them money and protect them from the government, as far as the carbon taxes that are coming on and everything else, that's really not selling. That's saving your clients. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it really is. And a lot of people don't really understand. I mean, there's some, or they haven't really resonated with the idea yet, but like local law 97 in New York,
Yep.
that law is actually, I mean, it's coming. And so there's significant penalties for your carbon footprint, for your reporting initiatives and whatnot. If you're not reducing those carbon footprints, you're going to pay. And so the question is do you go ahead and suck it up and try to pay earlier and start developing some strategies to improve your efficiency? Or do you wait until the penalties come down the pike, and then everybody's already jammed up and doesn't really have enough time to contend with you because they're busy. So,
You know,
those are kind of like it's some challenging times coming ahead, but New York's in for a rude awakening. Vancouver is too.
what's going on there?
Same type of initiative for Vancouver, and I promise you, it's coming to a city near you. So us in Dallas, it's coming to Dallas too. I mean, it may be later than the others, but it's definitely coming. We need to be prepared for it.
Oh my goodness.
I
You
think
know,
I think at the end of the day, it's really, really important to
yep,
engage in the discussions, even if you're not making a decision. Find that the
I like
highest
that.
level people in those industries and engage with them and start having those difficult discussions so that you can figure out what your pathway is forward.
Right. Ralph, and I appreciate exactly what you just said, because the discussion on my end is talking to people around the world, and we're talking about the energy crisis. And that's why when you and I were chit chatting about this, very rarely does anybody talk about how do you save energy? How do you actually do those? And it's kind of refreshing. And but I'm gonna put this as a t-shirt. I think you and I need to like get this t-shirt out there.
Collaborate. Do we need to collaborate together?
Yeah,
And
we got to get a t-shirt out there that says, does my carbon footprint make my ass look big? Because I, I think we ought to do
tell your
that.
wife. Don't tell your wife.
Don't tell my wife, because you and I were chatting. The worst words as a husband that you could ever say is that you hear, does this dress make me look fat? And you go, no, you're dead meat. So
I can tell you that that during those times is when my wife figures out that I'm really hard of hearing, and so I'm starting to
oh
have
yeah,
challenging time hearing at that point in time, and my attention span is shorter. So I
right.
think you get my drift.
All right, Mr. Producer, I'd love for you to mark down the time on this for our art department to come up with a t-shirt that says, does this carbon footprint make my ass look big? That is a t-shirt. I've just made that up on
Man,
this show. So
that's a great concept. I'd wear it. I'd wear it all the time. I promise.
we had, there's so much. I'm sitting here thinking about this, Rob. We could sit there and you could have somebody and have the shade off of their backside, and
Oh,
just yeah.
oh
I mean,
man,
this. I'm
you've
I'm
been
already
thinking about.
gone.
Hey, you've already had these ideas to be
No,
brainstorming.
no, I swear I haven't. I swear that's why this is so funny. Is I can barely even keep myself. And speaking of the devil here,
Oh,
my
that's
wife, my
funny.
wife is texting me on the phone, so I'm over here going.
Yeah.
She's
That's so funny. That is
oh no.
hilarious.
But Ralph, as we sit here and we talk about this, it's getting the word out there and really doing what you're doing. I want to give you a shout out on what you're doing on LinkedIn. And I like your posts. I like your interactiveness on there. And that's what got us chit-chatting. And you've even poked fun of me a few times, and I absolutely love it. I love anybody poking fun at me. I can't remember which one it was, but it was like, you're a dope or something. I can't remember what it was. Absolutely a wonderful. I was like, all right.
You
So,
know what? You got to be real, right? If you're not authentic, then what's the purpose?
oh yeah. But it helps. And I think that that's part of society that we're not doing right now. And that is humor is amazing. And I appreciate what you're doing trying to educate people out there because your posts are very, very good. So everybody needs to
Well, I appreciate,
follow
yeah, I
Ralph
appreciate it.
Rodriguez, LEEDAPOM. Now, what does that mean? Because I'm over here going, that's a lot of initials behind your name there.
Yeah, that's the lead operations and management certification
Okay.
from the Green Building Institute.
Oh,
And so
nice.
yeah, so it's just a certification for lead buildings, and there's a lot of people that follow different frameworks,
Okay.
that they try to use to improve operationally, and there's sustainability initiatives, and that's one of them.
I was hoping that was some way to make a husband sound, listen to his wife a little more, but I'm glad it's
Well,
something like
yeah,
there you
it's
go.
not, but I tell you what, it sure does make me feel important.
I am so glad my wife is not standing over my shoulder.
Yeah,
I
me
have
too. Me
done
too.
podcasts and she has come up behind me and I'm like, all I can see is this pan come in from behind my head. Whack.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I
so
can relate. I can
out
relate.
of the city, because this is a huge problem getting back to the regulatory issues coming around the corner. I've seen some horrific regulations coming around the corner, and I applaud your comment for our podcast listeners when Ralph said that. My eyebrow, my unibrow went up because I was absolutely like, wait a minute. If you don't start tracking it now, what happens when the fines come in? Holy smokes,
Yeah.
that's frightening.
Yeah, and the truth is they're no joke. I mean, these are significant fines, and I'll tell you, I mean, right now with this whole push on the green economy and the world's up in arms, they're looking for capacity. These data center AI exploding,
Right.
the need for energy density so critical, and carbon and capital pretty much have become inextricably linked. I mean, so there's really nothing that you can do to get away from it. So knowing that there's a future day of reckoning, for lack of a better term, it makes sense that you investigate the options available to you
Right.
before they literally cripple your business. And it's going to happen, and there's going to be winners and losers, just like everything else. And I think the companies that are being proactive, that are focusing on their sustainability initiatives and their carbon footprint, is critical. But there's one other issue, and that is, that the reporting frameworks out there. I mean, it's like the Wild West out there.
Right.
So I mean, there's a gazillion reporting frameworks, and so it's it's like, what framework do I do? Well, you know what? That's the beauty of our platform and how our platform works is we don't really care. We're framework agnostic,
I like that.
so it just makes sense. And you just want to, you want to start somewhere. So many people are so hung up on what's the upfront investment, and they get bogged down in with the fear that the numbers are astronomical without even jumping in and doing any of the research. You know what I
Right.
mean? Or investigating, the opportunities with the top level advisors out there. So that's my
Well,
take on that.
always looking at a return on investment. I get hit up so many times on even LinkedIn or anything else for people trying to sell things to my company.
Yeah, sure.
And it's just brutal. In fact, I had Joan Rivers. I think she came up from the dead the other day, and it just unbelievable, unbelievable. I
I
can't.
saw that and I thought to myself, man, what is this world coming to? And
I was like, and Steve Reese. I love Steve Reese. He's a true industry leader out there, and he's like, I believe it was him and Marilyn Monroe had been chasing him for years. LinkedIn has got to get some better controls on these fake accounts coming in.
these
I mean,
they're
somebody
bots,
using
I think, right? They may be bots, that are like, I mean, it's insane, really. I mean, I can't tell you how many that I get,
right.
and it's just crazy. But I've never gotten Joan Rivers, so I
Oh,
think that you're winning. You're taking the cake on this one, Stu.
it was funny. I had to bring my wife over and go, "Hey, Joe's alive," and I really got tickled at that. Now, back to AI, and when we sit here and think about AI, it drives me nuts, Ralph. When I sit here and I know that I've used software packages, they are going to remain nameless. But then all of a sudden, in the last 6 months to a year, they've gone, we're AI. No, you're not. You're a glorified spreadsheet. And I'm over here going, what are you saying to your clients when they ask that kind of a thing? Right.
Well, the thing is that the AI is really advancing the ability for these companies to really advance their techniques in a way
Right.
that's substantive. And so I can see where those platforms are making, progress, and they're using AI. But I think we're just barely scratching the surface on it. I mean, I think
Right.
that the real learning and the real momentum of the AI programs is yet to come. The beauty is like, with our Legend Analytics platform, just, the shameless plug again, is that we developed that platform over the last 6 or 7 years in some of the most tough environments that are out
Oh,
there.
right.
And so, we've been, dealing with developing that technology. And now with the push on AI, we're on some iterations that are down the road already, so that
Nice.
we, and it's based on experience, right? I mean, the fact that we're in automobile manufacturing plants, we're in poultry
What
processing plants, we're in the mining
did you
industry.
say? Holstein processing plants?
No, poultry.
Poultry. Oh, I thought you were
Like
like, man,
chicken processing plants. And I mean, we've got
that's
some real
cool.
interesting stories, with our platform and what that data does. Because when you can provide data to the people that are on the ground floor of those companies that are
Right.
operations, those are the people that understand their business better than anybody, right?
Isn't that great?
So when they see the data, they can make adjustments that you wouldn't. I mean, we couldn't have even anticipated some of the things that they came up with, and it was
No.
all based on the data that came through. And really, that's all because it's teaching you how to think through these different scenarios, and
Right.
understand real time analytics, and apply, make those decisions that you make, actionable and accountable.
I like that. Actionable, accountable, and auditable.
Man,
Uh,
man, that's like a lot of like That's a lot of A's, isn't it?
It is. That's what my
That's the
wife calls
front.
me.
Hey, that's the front of the t-shirt, Stu.
Yeah, yeah. There you go. I'm sorry, that T-shirt is. I'm just you shouldn't have mentioned T-shirt again because just like a squirrel.
Back
I
on.
got another couple, about 4 more T-shirts on this. We're gonna open up a merch shop. So because it came on this podcast, we're gonna have to cut you in on some of the merch sales that come out of
Man,
this T-shirt. What do
I'll
you
be an
think?
evangelist. I'll be an evangelist for it. I promise you. We'll sell a bunch of them.
That is a funny T-shirt line.
Yeah,
I'm
I love
serious.
it. I
That's
love
going
it.
to be part of the headline of this podcast.
I
I,
love it.
I think it should be. So, what advice do you have for folks that are actually sitting here looking at a crisis? And let me back this up for just one other question here. Governor Holcomb just put out a notice 2 months ago saying that the New York is going to increase their power by 20% this year. And then the bills are going to be increased 20% next year. And within 3 to 4 years, it's going to go to 100% more than that. So not only is the carbon footprint, does this carbon footprint make my butt look big? I'm sorry. I got to get that line in there again. We're going to have so much fun. And then when you take a look at the fact that that carbon footprint is going to make your butt look big, it's also going to have a lot of your cost for the energy is coming up. We're also having blackouts starting to roll through. So I'm asking this from a technical standpoint on as a grid operator, the grid operators have to keep up a balanced load, and they have to have the balancing authorities throw it between, the renewables, especially up in New York or those other areas. And they have to say, hey, I got a base load here. I got to have these things spinning up. At what level do the car plants or the other big plants that you have start communicating with the power grid, going both ways and saying, this is the load that I have now going this way to help those poor balancing authorities sit there and try to balance that out? Does that make sense? Because now we're talking some
It does.
serious AI coming
Yeah.
back and forth, pre-planning the load would make a big difference to that grid operator, because now we're sitting here and there are announcements all around the world. The UK this morning put out that the get ready for gigantic amounts of power outages. Our grid facility in the US, the FERC, has already put out and said, oh, by the way, rut-row, we're going to have blackouts because of the grid management and hooking things to the grid that shouldn't have. But would that be a great play for your software to invest, or a forward path? Because if you think about a plant, and am I thinking about that right?
Yeah, you are, because here's the thing. Everything is advancing so fast in the energy
Right.
space, right? And particularly, I know that we had a discussion previously about we're involved in the data center space a lot.
Right.
And we're starting to have, we did 2 podcasts recently. I would give a shout out to the Data Center Frontier and also
Nice.
Data Center Hawk, with both of those 2, where they had asked us to do a podcast, and our CEO and founder, excuse you.
Thank you.
No, so our those companies actually asked us to do the podcast, asked our CEO and founder to get on there and kind of
Right.
explain some of the difficulties from the constraint side and power, stranded power,
Right.
et cetera, et cetera. And we're literally getting phone calls every day on trying to improve and collaborate to
Wow.
help them stay ahead of the curve. And I think ultimately what you're talking about is leveraging the technology in a way where you can manage, the energy dynamically, and
Right.
your ability to kind of control, the different aspects, the infrastructure, where and then even across grid, from grid to grid. And so
Oh,
those things are coming. And I think now you're starting to get the smartest people, on the planet that understand energy way, way better than I do. They're focused on trying to solve those pieces of the puzzle. But one element that's critical is,
yeah,
and it's always going to be critical, is real-time energy analytics. And so if you're not really understanding in granularity how you're using that energy, you're not going to, and in real time, you're not going to be able to effectively, provide the correct information that you need to become an active participant in the energy markets.
that's
And
nuts. I
and
mean,
that's a big deal, because at the end of
it
the
is.
day, energy density is king.
Exactly.
Especially with all these energy intense businesses, it's critical. So people need to be focused on it.
Yeah, I mean, Alex Epstein, who I've interviewed twice, he said there is no advanced country that didn't get here without fossil fuels and energy density. You just nailed it there. And Germany, who is how the Germany goes in their economy, goes the EU, and they're in trouble because of their energy density. They went to the wind and that natural gas. They got into war over, and the Nord Stream pipeline with Russia is now gone. BMW or Volkswagen shut their plant down. The oldest steel mill in Europe closed down. BASF has moved to China. They closed their fertilizer plants down. Countries die because of not having the energy density. So
Yeah,
if you don't understand the energy density, you're going to die. I guess we can put the fear that could be a t-shirt for your company.
man, like we got all kinds of t-shirt like ideas coming. We're gonna be t-shirt
Yeah.
tycoons. Or like, forget this energy stuff. Let's get in
Oh
the
yeah.
business. You know what I mean?
Let's get your CEO on here, and then that way you can get him on here for a fun podcast. We
Oh,
can't let those
absolutely.
data center guys get all the fun with your CEO. We're going to be more fun than the
Man,
CEO.
let's do it. I mean, he's all over it. I mean, he's exceptional. I mean, really,
Oh,
he's like next level of podcaster. I mean, if you ever watch any of the podcasts that he's done, his level of knowledge is like exceptional, and his
okay.
ability to have the foresight to be able to like know, hey, these are the things that are happening. These are the things that we got to do. He's all over it. So we
This will be
love the
fabulous.
opportunity.
You and I, this was almost a personal, but it was a great energy discussion. So we got about one more minute here, Ralph. What is coming around the corner for you? What do you see for Q4?
So right now, what's really ramping up is the data center space, the commercial real estate space, because of the local law 97. So smart metering is really important, but there's a lot of out
Wow.
of the box solutions that really are not going to solve people's problems. So it's tricky. I mean, those shelf technologies, they really they don't operate as efficiently as they should. And so you really need somebody that's like crossing over those silos that we were talking about, so that
Right.
they can integrate the strategy and help you really minimize your footprint. And that's what we're doing across the board. And that's the beauty is we didn't create a software for one factory or for a particular type of business, which a lot of these solutions, that's what they do. Our solution literally works in every single category across every sector, and it's really solving real world problems. And at the end of the day, that's what matters.
How cool is that? And people can find you on Ralph Rodriguez on LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and we will have your contact information and your company's website out there, all in the show notes. And I can't wait to visit with you and your CEO. I think that would be an absolute hoot.
Man, that'll be awesome. We would
unless he watches this and he realizes he's going to fire you and me for having such a great conversation.
I'm not sure that it really matters because we're going to be t-shirt tycoons, Stu. So it doesn't really matter, man. Let's go.
Rock and roll. So for that, this has been the Energy News Beat t-shirt. And at least, Ralph, it's not a wet t-shirt contest.
Man. Yeah, you wouldn't want to see mine. You do have the skinny filter on me right now, right?
Oh, yeah, but you got the hair. For all our podcast listeners, he has a great looking set of hair. I got flesh colored. I'm a little bit thin on the skin up there. So with that, thank you for stopping by the Energy News Beat podcast. My name's Stu Turley, and I will see you real soon. Thank you.